Okay, for today we're going to start with a little pop quiz, and I am going to get you ready for it just a little bit, and then we're going to take that pop quiz, and then after we're done with the pop quiz, we'll resume the video and kind of just review a few more things, and then your homework will be a Schoology quiz. I have to say the homework performance has been pretty bad lately, and if you're stuck, you've got a teacher in the room who wants to help you and is willing to answer questions at the end of the hour. Please don't wait till I come back. You're going to be too far behind if you try to do that. We will have the test before I come back. So I strongly encourage you to be working on this harder. I just am kind of dismayed at how much homework was not done. So get on it and let's get back to it. So to start with, this quiz is going to be giving you a function. So let's say it gives you a function like, square root of x plus 4. All right. So if you have a function like this, number one thing you got to know is that the things that are inside are horizontal moves. Horizontal on the inside. I hope you would know that one is moving which way? Somebody say it out loud if you know it. That one's moving left 4. That one's moving left 4. Okay. And if there was something on the outside, that would be a vertical on the outside. Let's say I put a plus 8 out here. Then that would be a vertical move. Okay. So that's the high-vo thing. Horizontal on the inside, vertical on the outside. Next, if I wanted to take this exact function here and find some points on it, if I make an XY table, that is your best friend in graphing. Now, a real typical scenario is you put in 0 and 1, but it also is really smart to put in a number that goes inside that makes the inside part 0. Okay, so think about that for a second. What would make the inside part 0? -4 would. Okay, so -4 would be a smart thing to put in. Remember, you get to pick what numbers you put in. You're just going to have to make like 3 or 4 points that are on the graph. So let's try these. Right now, everybody just let's pause for just a second to try putting in these 3 numbers. Put in 0 into this function, including with the 8. You got both the 4 and the 8. Now that I've changed it a little bit. Okay. And you're going to put in the 0, and you're going to put in the 1, and you're going to put in the -4. Okay, let's pause that and give it a try. All right, so if you put in a 0, you should have gotten 0 plus 4 is 4, and the square root of 4 is 2. Then we have to add the 8. 2 plus the 8 makes 10. Okay, next we put in a 1, and that really wasn't the smartest number to put in, was it? Because then we have the square root of 5, and we have to add 8 to it. Square root of 5 plus 8. And that's as good as you'd be expected to do. We aren't going to have a calculator for this test. And so you're not going to be finding the square root of 5. All right, then let's try that -4. The reason -4 was smart is because if we put in -4 right here, then we have the square root of 0, which is just 0. Then you add the 8, and you'd have 8. Those are my 3 key points. Now, on the Schoology quiz, you're going to see that they'll have them in point form, 0, comma, and then you'd put in your answer, which again, in this case, was 10, so 0, comma, 10. We won't have one weird like that, so let's skip that one. But then this one would have been -4, comma, 8. And once you've graphed a few points, you're just playing connect the dots. All right, that should get you ready for that little Schoology quiz. It's a pop quiz, and you take it once right now. You can always retake it later, because at the end of this one, you will see the answers. And then I'll have the teacher, once you are done with taking the pop quiz, and we aren't going to wait for the very last person, but when most of the kids are done, then go ahead and resume this video. Okay, so now that you're back, let's talk about the other thing that we need to know by this point. We need to know when there's a negative in front of something, that makes it flip. So this would have been a normal parabola. Hopefully by now you know what x squareds look like. They look like this. But then this negative in the front would have been a vertical reflect. And that would make it look like that. Okay. Why vertical? Why up and down? Because it's a VO. It's a vertical on the outside. You might think, but isn't that in with the x? Nope. If I put a parenthesis around this, if you wanted the negative to be inside, you'd have to put it inside a parenthesis like that. Then the negative's on the inside if you put it in there. All right, so if I give you an XY chart and I give you another XY chart, I'm wondering if you'd be able to tell what happened if I went from these points, -1, 0, 3, and 7, and I had 5, 2, 6, and -3. Thanks for your patience there. If my new points on this chart were different, they were -4, -5, 3, -2, sorry, -3, -2, 0, -6, and 4, 3, what on earth happened between the ones on the left and the ones on the right? All right, one thing at a time. Does anybody notice anything about these numbers and these numbers? Yeah, I bet some of you are seeing that there's all the y's have been multiplied by a negative. Okay, now think about that. Multiplied by a negative. All of the y's were multiplied by a negative. Well then, if this was f of x, this one, if the y's are going to be multiplied by a negative, then it's f of x, but its y's, which is f of x, are multiplied by a negative. So there must have been a negative on the outside. You know how I knew it was outside? Because the y's are the things that do vertical things. And so the stuff on the outside of the function either is vertical on the outside. So if there's anything that happens to the y's, that's on the outside of the function. Now let's look at the x's. What happened to my x's? Well, sometimes they won't even change. In this case, they did. When -1 turned into -4, what happened? When 0 turned into -3, what happened? When 3 turned into 0, what happened? And when 7 turned into 4, what happened? I hope you caught on that those are all dropping by 3. Now, a reasonably intelligent kid would say, okay, so then they're all dropping by 3. But what's wrong with what I just wrote? You can't trust the inside. I hope one of the students noticed that. You can't trust the inside. All of those did drop by 3. All of the x's dropped by 3. But that means you have an x plus 3 on the inside. Why do we have a negative on the outside? Because the y's were all the opposite. This is the opposite of this. This is the opposite of that. All right, let's just do one more like that. So imagine I have an XY chart, and I'll keep it super simple. 2, 4, 6, and 8 goes with 5, 7, 9, and 11. And then I have a new function that's related to the first one. And let's say that the x's don't even change. 2, 4, 6, and 8. And all the y's go up by 2. So 5 turns into 7, 7 turns into 9, 9 turns into 11, and 11 turns into 13. would you know what happened? Well, this is f of x. This one's f of x, but then you got to tell me by putting some number in the right spot, what happened? So think in terms of x's and did they change? If so, you do stuff in here. Y's, and if they changed, you do stuff on the outside. I'm going to pause for a second and have you give that a try. All right, so here's what I hope you noticed. The x's didn't change. So all these x's here, they are exactly the same here. So the x's didn't change, so you don't change this. You leave it alone. But the y's, they went up by 2. So the 5 went up to 7, 7 went up to 9, 9 to 11, 11 to 13. They all add 2. So that's on the outside a plus 2. So this is our function that's been changed. F of x plus 2. All right. Now there's a Schoology quiz that covers that, except it has one other topic on it, and that's what if I gave you a picture of a function, like let's say this function, and then I said, hey, I moved it, and I moved it down here. What is it now? Well, just so that we keep the same system as what they have, the black one will be the original one on all of the ones on the Schoology quiz. And this one, the red one, is the one that's been moved. If this one's f of x, it's the starter function, then what's the red one? Well, it's f of x, except it's moved down some number. Now, you'll be able to tell on the ones that you have on the Schoology quiz. But this one, if I just compare this spot here and this spot here, it looks to me like it's moved down about 7. So then I'd say f of x minus 7. There's my new function. It's the function, except down 7. All right, here's another one like that. So let's say that you had upside down baseball cap. It starts out as a regular baseball cap, but then, oh wait, I should use a black one for that because that's what they're going to do. The black one's the original one. And then what if they do this? The baseball cap looks like that. Well, it's obviously not just f of x anymore. Something happened to it. I'm going to ask you to pause and give that one a shot. What happened to the f of x? Okay, the f of x looks like it flipped vertically. You see how up and down did an up and down flip? That would be represented by a negative right there. So that's what you would type in the Schoology quiz. Negative on the outside of f of x. What would it have looked like if it flipped around the other way? Well, let's draw one of those in blue. If it had flipped around the other way, it would have been like this. Flipped so that the baseball cap's bill, so to speak, is sticking out the other way. This one has been flipped and moved. See how the original one has been, compared to the original one here, this blue one has been left-right flipped. That's a negative on the inside. Plus, it was also moved to the left. Ooh, that was a really tricky one. I don't think we would give you any that hard, but that represents the flip. And then we'd also have to have a negative on the inside. Yeah, I made that one really rough. So you'd also had to go plus something on the inside. All right, so enough of that. I think you're ready for the other Schoology quiz. And I hope that you feel like this has pulled together a few things. I did add this one little piece in of shifting functions around. We had to have something new for today. And your Schoology quiz is very doable. Now get it done and then go back and get a couple others done. I'm going to be sending home grade reports here soon. And it'd be great if you could be caught up and not have a bunch of zeros that you'd have to explain. All right, have a good day. Take care.